Are our homes seminaries of heaven, or are they incubators of hell? We're unpacking this more in this week 1 series of Home Sweet Home. We're excited to get into this content, and we're excited that you're here with us today. All right, hey, welcome. We are excited to be jumping into a new series today. We are looking at this Home Sweet Home series we've been looking forward to for October. It's October now for us. And Kyle, kind of the idea of Home Sweet Home, for those who maybe missed Sunday, what's the idea behind it?
I just, everyone thinks everyone else has got their life figured out, like that their homes are perfect. And then they, in shame and guilt, like, oh, I wish I could get my act together. I wish I'm like, and it's just hilarious because everyone's house is on fire.
Yeah,
Everyone's
I love that about the image.
Yeah. I mean, they're just, everyone's like
Cross-stitched.
And that's our social media world. We judge each other according to each other's highlight reels, you know, our trailers, not the whole movie, just our trailer. And a lot that looks glitzy and glamour. Not all that glitters is gold. And I think that's the more true about the family than anything else. And
I love like my wife's a photographer, and I love sometimes when she captures, like, she obviously gives the best photos, but then she's also like snapping so fast. She's getting like when the kids are melting down. It's like, I wish we could put like a highlight reel of ourselves of like, not just the best parts, but the real parts.
Yeah.
It's like you get yourself posed perfectly, and then, but they don't see all the stuff that's below that and around it.
That was, it's funny you say that because that was one of the highlights of my family vacation that I kind of referenced, never been on a family vacation and we did photos. And I'm like, man, if we could make this a reality television show.
Yep.
I mean, trying to make each other smile, then kids are melting down, then the cousins were throwing sand at each other because we're on the beach. And then the photographer's like, hey, let's get one by the water. But my uncle refused to take off his Air Monarchs and his jorts, so his shoes are getting wet by the waves. And I'm like, you can't make this up. Like, what is happening right now?
I think Hannah got one of you guys when you were doing family photos with her, where like the water hit your feet, and it was like you're smiling, and the next picture's like,
yeah. Because I told my wife one thing. I was like, hey, I just don't want to get wet today.
Yep.
And
immediately,
let's go to the water. And there we go. So
we did family photos on the beach one time, and I'm okay with sand if like kind of similar situation where I get wet. And then my son, we're sitting there in a perfect family photo, and he just takes sand, is rubbing it like into my legs and stuff, and I'm just like cringing. But you have to stay happy and keep it together. And isn't that so exhausting in our world? It's that.
Yep.
We're trying to keep it together, and that just requires so much energy instead of going, hey, none of us have it together. Like, let's not buy the lie.
To produce a picture that we edit,
Yep.
we course correct,
Yep.
we color correct, and we hang on our wall and then try to live up to something that isn't even real.
Even for ourselves, not just for other people. So that's what we're talking about in this series, is this idea that our homes are on fire, but it is a place. I love the line that you used on Sunday. I'm trying to figure, it was our homes are, remind me of it.
Our homes are meant to be a seminary for heaven, right?
Yep.
Like the training ground, the proving ground. Like, this is what you could expect eternity to be like, where we love each other, we walk through situations together. Unfortunately, we've reduced a lot of our homes to be incubators of hell.
Yeah.
And that's...
And honestly, the thing that I took away with myself kind of listening to the message on Sunday was, we do that and we don't even realize we're doing it. We don't make our homes incubators of hell intentionally.
Oh, no.
If you do, there's other problems, right? But for real, just our day-to-day rhythms and it just, without this wake up and without this aha moment, which Sundays can be that when you hear a word like that, you just realize that how much I'm feeding that unintentionally just by trying to do the right thing. Discipline my kids in a way that so they turn out to be good, decent, honest human beings. But you're actually working against yourself if you're not replacing that with words of affirmation and kindness and touch, and all those things. So definitely, especially if you're a parent and you're feeling the tension of this idea of home, even if you're not a parent and you're just in a family, every family has its dysfunction. What ways can this be a wake-up call to just realize I can't just keep doing the same things and expecting this different results, but what do I need to change? What do I need to be more intentional with? How do I need to just add love and empathy into my interactions?
Yeah. And that was the surprise for me on Sunday. I was nervous. I'm pretty confident in obviously the series, the direction, what I wanted to communicate. But my fear, my absolute total fear was, oh no, I'm gonna speak to such a small group of people that there's gonna be aunts, uncles, a single person, a grandparent, a young adult who are gonna be like, this isn't for me, and just tune out. And the amount of feedback I got from those people was mind bending. I'm just going, hey, I work for my one young adult's like, I work for my uncle, and everything, all the drama is like, that's the family business. And I just learned, okay, how do I not be moved by the waves? I'm like, that's brilliant. Another older gentleman came up to me. He's like, hey, can you preach the same message next week? But every time you say parents, can you just say grandparents? He goes, I think it would impart an entirely different audience. I'm like, quite brilliant. And that's the thing, is that it isn't just something for somebody. It's something for everybody. Because if the church is supposed to be the blueprint of the family, or the church is the byproduct of the family of God, then we should be modeling the family backwards. And this is where all are welcome. Everyone belongs. That's the beauty, and everyone has a place. And so I love that we got that across. I love that people made it personal to themselves, and that was the hope.
And that's always the challenge every week, because we're a multi-generational church. Families are at the core of what we do by nature, of family ministries and next gen and all that. But you got to find yourself in the sermon every week and not just go, this doesn't apply to me because it doesn't hit. You got to move your target to the message in some ways. And I was just looking at your notes here. Point one is bring your kids to church isn't as important as bringing Jesus into your home. You could take the kids out of there. Bringing your uncle, your neighbor to church isn't as important as bringing Jesus and them into your home. The second point, touch transcends. Proximity transcends with people. Third point, make time for them.
Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be kids and words of life.
It's hard to say you care when you're too busy to actually ask someone how they're doing. Ask someone, hey, how can I pray for you? I mean, that's the one that's universal. Do we make time for people? I want to see the activity of God, but I don't want to, it's what we talked about last week or last month. I don't want to be interrupted.
Yeah.
And so, transcends.
Great. Well, Sunday was an awesome kickoff. If you haven't watched that, go back and catch up on week 1 of what we're talking about. Today, we're going to unpack a little bit of what we couldn't get to on Sunday. So what were some of the points that hit the cutting room floor for you this week?
Yeah. I mean, we try to keep it as practical as possible and succeeded in the practice. I hope everyone walked out of there knowing and believing they could do something different that day. And again, I think we succeeded in that. The one area that I flew by, wish I could have deep dove a little bit more, didn't have time for, was the statement when I read Proverbs 22:6, when it says, start children off in the way that they should go, and even when they're old, they will not turn from it. And I said it so fast, and I wish I would have slowed down, but that's not a promise. That is simply just imparted wisdom. And that's the beauty of Proverbs, is they're quick, they're quips, there's these little translatable truths, but they often get translated as promises. And so the two sides to that, okay? For those parents who worked really hard, who did their best, tried to do the right things, prayed over their kids, all that, and then their kids still said, you know what? I don't need God. I don't need Jesus. I'm not really into the church. Naturally, we think, oh, what did I not do enough of? What did I fail? How did I? And I'm like, no, your kid has their own will. It's their own choice. And there's a moment where they have to choose, do I want a faith of my own? Because they can't carry your faith. And that's where it's like, no, it's not your failure. It's that, did you teach them and impart them that when life gets so heavy, crisis gets so real, that they wake up like the prodigal son in the pigsty going, oh my gosh, what am I doing? That they'll want to go back to you to understand, okay, what do I got to do different? And tell me about your Jesus. That's the hope of the world. And I think the other thing is the accurate translation is, start your children off in the way that they should go, the way that God designed them, unlocking their gifts. And so this is really a specific wisdom to us, being hyper aware of what our kid needs and recognizing all our kids are not the same. And that's a key one, because I think how we raise the first child, we just assume I can treat the second child or the third child or the fourth child the exact same way. And then when they get rebellious, when they buck the trend, when they push back, everyone gets upset. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Two things there that you said is, one, the trauma piece. When they encounter their trauma, we tend to think of train your child as like, okay, I took him to church, made him go to, we did family devotions. I think one of the biggest teachers for our kids is just how they watch us handle work frustrations, family dysfunction, all of those, how we even talk about our trauma to them and our mess ups and mistakes. Like it, they see, oh, it's not just like, oh, they were given instruction, but they saw.
Yeah.
So like, and I also think of the young parent. You kind of mentioned like the older seasoned parent who has who's watching their kid adult right now and struggling with that adult side. But I do think kind of raising young kids, you have young kids, like there's this like almost paralyzing. It can be paralyzing to go like, I don't want to screw up right now.
Yep.
Not like, oh, I did the best, but like train. I want to train. I want to start the cat. How am I starting out? I want to make sure I'm doing everything and nitpick. And there's we like work ourselves out of trust in the Lord with that, to say like, I'm just going to be the very best follower of Jesus that I can be, and show them the way of Jesus and model that. And just at some point you got to go, they're their own person, right?
The finish line for a parent, the moment you know whether you succeeded or failed, is when you see your kid raising their kid. And so we think, oh, it's in our 18-year segment where we do our most impressing. Nope, it's a long game. Everything about following Jesus is the long game. When you watch how they raise their kid, that's when you know, I did it right, or I wish I would have done that better.
And even as grandparents, like let's talk about that for a second. Like you're not done.
No,
you're not done. You think that they're raising their kids, and you can be like, all right, no, you got to keep going.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer, just with the economy, inflation, the rat race of the world that we live in right now, where you got parents that are working, you have daycare. And again, I'm not judging those things. This is reality. I mean, there are families that are just hustling to get by. Grandparents have become key figures in the family.
Yeah.
How they're talked to, how they joke. Grandparents have the opportunity to reinforce what you value or diminish what your household values. And that's where our relationships with our parents are important. And so when we want to reinforce positive behavior, we have to invite our grandparents in. Hey, if you see this, help me call it out. Or, hey, I want to celebrate this, because they either reinforce or nullify what you're teaching. And they carry a weight. I mean, grandparents are, in this generation, in this season, for such a time as this, monumental players.
Absolutely. So Proverbs, it's not a promise. It's just wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the takeaway there.
Now, and again, so I didn't have time because this is a longer, one of the promises in Scripture is found in Deuteronomy 6, where it says, these are the commands, decrees, and laws, so that your children and their children may fear the Lord your God. These are commandments, decrees, regulations that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land that you're about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear the Lord your God as you live. If you obey these decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel. Be careful to obey. If you do, it will go well for you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. And then he says the kind of the Shema. Listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands, wear them on your foreheads as reminders, write them on the doorposts of your house and your gates. I mean, my whole point is, if we think that we're going to impart something of value to our kids in 1 hour a week, it's in direct contradiction to this statement. This literally says you should talk about God, you should talk about godly things, you should talk about obedience, like it's the only thing you ever talk about. That's why worship music, that's why the shows that you watch, they're either reinforcing what you value at home or they're denying the importance of what you value in your home. This is why cell phones are a threat. They're a tool, but they're a neutral tool. if you do not ensure that they're being used for your good and to push your agenda forward and imparting wisdom to your kid, then it'll obviously
It's going to do what it wants.
It's going to do what it wants. And so this is where that's the hard work, parents. But the promise is if you teach your kids to fear the Lord, they'll have a long life.
Yeah.
They'll be blessed. Now, I want to just connect one crazy thing. I love when psychology like validates scripture. And one of the things that I was taught when I was doing some therapy work for myself, my therapist was like, "Hey, tell me about your growing up." And it was really hard for me. I'm uncovering myself. So hopefully my parents aren't watching this podcast. Mom and Dad, sorry. Okay.
Don and Judy.
Yeah. Please don't listen. Okay. But I was talking about how I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood. And my therapist was like, "Ooh, interesting. Let's lean in." Then I was like, "How do you lean in on what
something
you don't remember?" Like, that makes no sense. And he said this to me that blew my mind. And I think, again, we think that a successful life is a drama-free, attention-free life. Okay? He said this to me. He said that the memories that are seared in our mind the most are often out of highly emotional interactions in either both positive or negative. Okay. So crises or overstimulation is where memories are seared as long-term memories.
Crisis or overstimulation. So a positive in the overstimulation would be like birthday party.
Why does a kid only remember one birthday party out of their childhood, or a few versus all of them? Why do they remember the trip to Disneyland, but they don't remember the trip to the beach?
Right.
My whole thing is the very thing that is actually marking your kid might actually be the crisis or the overstimulation that you didn't prepare for. Right? Like when someone died, how you responded actually might be the burning of the mind of what it looks like to follow God. How you respond to, "Oh gosh, Dad just lost his job." Well, how do we respond? Well, we're going to pray together. We're going to seek the face of God because he believes us. And then it's also the good things, like that impromptu, spontaneous thing that you didn't plan, that you're like, "Listen, it's snowing out. Let's run around and go do this." Like, they don't remember the planned, well thought out, the things that everyone else is doing. They remember the random in the moment. And that's where memories, and I think that's where we think being programmed and we're going to do all these memory makers. No, if you do everything, then they don't remember anything. That's where it's like, no, you got to make things special. And it's often the things that you didn't prepare for, you didn't plan for, that become the most memorable. And it's, again, that's when you teach your kids what it means to, like, I'm going to trust God with this, especially in crisis or in the Disneyland trip, the Disney World trip. Man, can you believe how blessed we are? Like, if you do not bring God to that, what, you think he's going to show up?
And I think to your point earlier, when you were saying like bring God into everything, there is a temptation to like reject everything else. Like we're only going to watch in our generation's VeggieTales or like whatever it is, right? Like I remember people were cutting TV and getting Angel something, Star Angel. There was like something in the 90s. And but recently in some of our parenting books that we've been doing as a church, like it's talking about like, you know, like you can engage in cultural things appropriately, right? But so we try to watch like The Sandlot with our kids over the summer, which I only remember that being like an amazing movie, right?
Yeah.
As a 90s kid.
PG movies in our generation
are just different.
Are like, whoa.
For some reason, you watch all these old school movies, you're like, oh, these are classics. And you watch them with your kids, just like, oh, like, you feel like you're shutting them down. But the example in the book was, you know, instead of avoiding it, what if you sort of like they were exposed to it with you, but then you can actually pause the movie and go like, hey, is that the right way to talk to people? Is that the right way? Is that treating someone in God's image? And you can have a conversation right there in the moment in a safe way. That's not like saying, hey, show your kids some like Friday the 13th. I don't know. That's not what we're saying. But exposure with reason and conversation and bringing God into those moments.
We think our kids are going to catch far more than they're actually catching. So which means we have to teach far more than we're expecting we have to teach. And so, that's a great. Are we using things of culture as training grounds? I mean, for this summer for us, which confession time, right? It's the K-pop Demon Hunter of your kids.
No, but I know what you're
Okay.
talking about. Yeah.
It's all the rave, right? So we embraced it. But it's amazing because we had some of the most fruitful conversations on spiritual warfare.
Mm.
And like that there are demons. There's even demons in heavenly places and what spiritual warfare and who fights for us. And I'm like, comic, a cartoon that sings songs. Like I never thought I would have the depth of conversations out of that, but it prompted it perfectly. And I was like, man, thank God. Now I'm not saying thank God for K-pop Demon Hunter because that movie is as annoying gets. But I'm thankful for the conversations that it prompted that I think did move the needle in my kids' spiritual lives, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So definitely looking for the Lord in those spaces as you, and here's the thing I think we wanted to say in this idea of promise, because this is very much promise, is that what's at the forefront? What is the main messaging of your life? Of because there's some there was a lot that was said in those 9 verses, but if we can kind of distill to the action verbs here, it says you must love the Lord your God. So love the Lord your God. Second thing was commit yourself wholeheartedly. So love, commit. It's verse 7. Repeat them again and again. Same in verse 7. Talk about them. Tie them in verse 8. Write them. So it's love, commit, repeat, talk. Like it is that what is the command? It's to let the messaging of the love of God be the forward facing thing, and you're bringing that conversation all the time. You had a hard day at school, and they're telling you, you're venting and you're listening, but then you just immediately turn that. But who does God say you are? Right? Like moments that can become teachable aren't just your opinion, but it's this idea of bringing the love of God into all of those conversations.
100%. And listen, that's work. Like it's not easy. It takes intentionality. And I think that's where you can't change yesterday. You don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about your mistakes. Because listen, we all have mistakes. Don't get too excited about tomorrow because none of us are promised tomorrow. But today, what are the 1, 2, 3 conversations in the transitions over dinner, on your way home from school? What else? At bedtime, that you could just use them as a simple way to talk about the goodness of God in the land of living and why we as a family value these things and why we, or you, mom, dad, believe God is everything that he says he is. And just start there.
If only we as a church had a resource that would give you like very specific questions that you could ask your kid at each one of those moments, that only if it would tie into the curriculum that they're learning every week. That would be
pretty
amazing.
sure that resource exists.
Does it exist?
It does. It does. And listen, parents, if you don't know about Parent Q, head on to our website. At Kids Check-In, there's a whole panel of cards. Every weekend, we give you every Sunday, not only what your kids learned, but talking points at those transitions. It's a resource that we pay for. It's a value that we provide, and it's a perfect tool to have in your hand. It's literally an app you can download where you could see what they're watching. You can actually even show them the lesson that they watched on Sunday. You can watch it with them and interact with them and go, hey, what did you get out of Sunday? We put the work in your hands. And that's the beauty. And then the other thing we have is an amazing group that meets monthly. With parents, because listen, parenting is hard. We got to support each other. We got to help navigate things. I teach one of the classes. Seth teaches one of the classes. A couple other great classes, but it's once a month. It's a discussion kind of based group. We get together, we fellowship for a little bit, then we break into these certain tracks. I do one on hard conversations. What's yours?
We're doing spiritually formed parents. The 4 classes are hard, difficult conversations for you guys. Spiritually formed parents, because we realize that we've been doing a lot of parenting content. But it's this idea of love the Lord your God. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind and strength. So we're kind of going at that part of parenting is you got to model it. Then Pastor Seth Brandt and Stephanie are doing just parenting teens. And then Katie, Jason, Merrick, they're doing digital parenting.
How to embrace the digital world and that. And again, that runs once a month. We provide childcare. Again, it's a great time to impart wisdom, to learn something, but also just be encouraged. We do that every month. And so we're actually going to have a big rally, if you will, a big celebration of that right before Christmas called Jingle Jam. And then in January, that'll start again with a whole new bunch of tracks. So it's a great resource for you to take advantage of.
So definitely two resources, but in this, I think the danger in some of this, when it's like tie them on your hands, write them on your doorposts, you can stick a bumper sticker on your car. You can wear the Christian t-shirt. You can have, K-Love or whatever in your car. But if your love is not the loudest thing, because you can have the stickers, you can have the t-shirts, and you could have a love of something else that's the most forward-facing, thing in your family. But if your love for Christ is spilling out, and that's what's filling all those things, if you hear anything, hear that. Because I think that's the promise, is when you love, when you serve, when you talk, when all of it happens, it's going to impact the generation. I really, that's kind of our takeaway today, really.
100%.
Is just that question that you got to wrestle with in any seat. We're talking a lot about parents. I know that, because we believe that, statistically, with both parents attend, 72% of kids remain active as adults. If both parents, I mean, that's a pretty big statistic. This is this promise that we're talking about.
It is. It takes both people, it takes both parties. If just the mother attend, it's 15%. If just the father attends, 50%. If neither parent attend, there's a 6% chance they continue to walk it. I mean, that's just, again, factual data. And let's defy the odds. Let's just work together. I mean, parenting is hard, but you got the church here to support you, and that's what we're all about.
And that's what I hope. If you do, please join us on these once a month parenting nights, Parenting with Purpose. All the information we can put a link in the video for you to get access to that. But the thing that I want you to hear is, when you come, it's not a bunch of parents telling their glitz and glamour stories. It's almost like we could probably get arrested for what we're talking about in this. Like, it is just all the failures.
That people are going to come now. I'm like, what's he talking about? I want to hear this gossip.
But it's just like, we're all trying to figure it out, and we're all exhausted. So I know we talked a lot about parents, for sure. I understand that. But find yourself in this text. Does your love for Christ speak the loudest thing in your workplace, in your club, whatever that is, in your intramurals, in your school? I don't care what context you're in. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Commit yourself wholeheartedly to these commands. So the reflection is, do you love God with all your heart, or only part of it? Thanks for joining us. We hope that you join us for these weeks coming up as we keep unpacking laundry room this coming week.
Yep.
And then I've got the dining room on the third week, and then you're wrapping up with the bedroom.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. It's going to be scary because it's Halloween, and we're going to talk about sex. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. All right. On that note, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.